That was fucking stupid. Live streaming gives a good shout out here. Fucking. So the bus said I was at my stop, so I pulled it because I thought it was fucking coming up, and they stopped way the fuck back there. My stop's up there, so they didn't get dropped as early as last time. Man, fucking pain in the ass, dude. Riding the bus back here is not where it's at because my direct line shuts down. So I should have gotten off up there by that fucking light. You can see that, but it triggered like the next stop was at the intersection. You know where the little fucking ticker thing is on the bus. So I fucking busted. Same way I did last night. I should have been like, oh, I'm going to the next one. My bad. I'm embarrassed. So I just bus stop up here. I know there's like fucking pretty heavy construction ongoing though on this fucking cross street, so it might be why it said that there was like service interruption up there. Last night the night before last, I went by one of these fucking warehouses. It was fucking popping. I was taking this walk, fucking there's loud music playing. You hear people inside. Fucking, I don't know what they were doing, but it sounded crazy. It sounded fucking crazy. Gnarly shit going on around here. Turn the camera around. Let's do that for now. Before 11, I can make it. Ended up getting called into work today. I wasn't planning on working, but pretty much all my fucking plans got fucked up for today. So I was like, well, fuck it, I might as well go into work. And had to haggle with them to make sure I got off on time so I could catch the bus back here. And then they wanted me to come in tomorrow. So I'm like, sorry, my dudes. I need one day to do my shit because I got shit to do. And, yeah, this way I doesn't get shit done. So, no can fucking do. Yeah, so I guess that is the closest stop. There's no fucking stop up here. There's supposed to be one up here, but they tore it out or something. Probably on that corner over there, I'm guessing. Yeah, because that looks like one on this side. That might just be the closest fucking stop to this one, or where this one's supposed to be. Well, back over here. That's where I would stop. My bus doesn't run this late. Could stop there. Actually, there's one 2 blocks from my house that way, so I had a fucking extra strong cup of Joe this evening. Fucking instant coffee I made. I feel fucking gator. Off the fucking chains, man. I didn't mean to make it that strong. It just came out that way. Kid turned down my call tonight. That's a little depressing, but whatever. It happens. Sometimes he's just not in the mood to talk on the phone. Actually, he usually doesn't talk on the phone to anybody, so I'm lucky when he does talk to me. Probably pop in the door like just right at 11 o'clock. Maybe a minute after or something. Let's see. 56. Yeah, maybe a couple minutes after. Oh, maybe a better time than the other night. There's fucking fat nose goblins going on. I'm trying to dig them out. They're stuck up in there pretty good. Tomorrow should be a crazy fucking day. My one day off. I'm supposed to try to ride a bunch of fucking trains. And I want to play music. We're going to the subject matter though right now. This is fucking what I was actually going to talk about. Came up in a group this morning. I thought I should do this. I want to commit myself to doing this, at least today, tomorrow rather. But I know it's going to cause me a hardship. It's like, fuck, maybe it's better for my mental health to just go through with it, even though I know I'm going to end up, kicking myself in the ass for spending the money. But at the same time, I'm going to end up fucking broke anyway. I always end up broke, so what's the fucking difference? I kick myself in the ass more if I didn't go fucking do rehearsal, go do band practice, or if I save that, whatever, $30 or whatever it's going to be, a little more than that probably. It's usually like $16 each way on the Amtrak, plus whatever I have to spend to get out to the Amtrak departure, which is going to be, well, I don't know if I can go from Richmond, then it's like right there. It's a hop, skip, and a jump. But if I have to go out to Martinez, it's a little farther. Still serving tacos over down the street. But the liquor store's probably closed though. It's not bad. From over there. Looks like the bus cuts off. It goes down that cross street. Doesn't come down here. It's kind of an alternate route. Maybe down that way, but I don't want to risk it because I don't know it very well. Maps told me to get off over there, so that's what I did. I've only been the other way a couple of times. Flower picked and planted, and she was doing better, but she's not happy at all. It's all right. It was a trial run. Some water. I gotta get a different end table. The one I have isn't too bad, but just when it's a little bit higher up off the ground, better. The height of my bed. There we are. Nobody move. The mustache gets it. Would have made more sense if I had accomplished what I'd set out to accomplish today. But if we didn't do it today, we'll do it tonight. We'll do it together. We'll do it live. I'm putting off some major grooming. And so tonight, I'm going to do it. So I went to my meeting this morning. It's good. It's a good group. Stick with it every Sunday morning. It's a good time slot. Works for me. And yeah, it's a national group. There's like a lot of people in there, but they give everybody a good chance to speak. Most of the people that are there to listen, so that's cool. And you get a lot of like side chat, feedback, comments, and stuff. It takes place over a Zoom meeting, so that's cool too. I think it's supposed to be relatively anonymous. Like some people just come in there with avatars and an alias, so you don't have to. I mean, I gave my real name, but you don't have to. Like they're pretty cool, pretty cool. It's a secular group, and so see, we had I have to pull up my notes. We made like a pie chart of things that are important in our lives and which ones we think we need to improve and stuff like that. And so a little bit of that type of thing going. But as it goes, I made it about 28 hours into sobriety, and then as my day began to fall apart, of course, I got myself a light beer, just one light beer. That was okay, and then I ended up having to go to work, so that kind of dried me out again. But so progress, not perfection, that type of shit, I guess, or whatever. So yeah, fine, whatever. We'll talk about the resentful parts of my day. We're also supposed to be talking about what we were grateful for, and saying I'm grateful for my mom. We just want to be grateful for my mom. I'm not gonna go beyond that. Don't think about it too much. Don't think about it too much. I was gonna try and Alexandra Myers is live. Alexandra. Okay, I get a couple things. Let's see what's going on over here, and then we'll come back to it. I gotta empty out my damn bag here real quick. Okay, I just got a notification on my phone, so I know it's happening. For some reason, it's okay. That's fine.
For a burnt offering without blemish, and offer them before the Lord. To the children of Israel you shall speak, saying, take a male goat for a sin offering, and a calf and a lamb, both a year old, without blemish, for a burnt offering. Also an ox and a ram for
I love how it has to be like without any blemishes, but they're gonna burn it anyway. I think that's funny.
peace offerings, to sacrifice before the Lord, and a grain offering mixed with oil. For today the Lord will appear to you. They brought that which Moses commanded before the tent of meeting, and the entire congregation drew near, and stood before the Lord. Moses said, "This is the thing which the Lord commanded that you should do. Then the glory of the Lord shall appear to you." And that rhymed, which is interesting. Okay, let's keep going. Then Moses said to Aaron, "Go to the altar and offer your sin offering and your burnt offering, and make atonement for yourself and for the people, and offer the sacrifice of the people."
Yeah, that's right. I do remember reading this one now. I think I read this one with Kat, as a matter of fact. I don't know, we were somewhere in Exodus and we were just jumping around, but I think it was around this part. Yeah.
And make atonement for them as the Lord commanded. Aaron therefore went to the altar and slaughtered the calf of the sin, which offering was for himself. The sons of Aaron brought the blood to him, and he dipped his finger in the blood and put it on the horns of the altar and poured out the blood at the base of the altar. But the fat, the kidneys, and the appendage above the liver of the sin offering he burned on the altar, as the Lord commanded Moses. The flesh and the hide he burnt with fire outside of the camp. All right. When you really think about this tent of meeting and all these offerings and slaughterings and God appearing and whatnot, this was kind of definitely, and I don't mean to say this to diminish the importance of Christianity, but all these displays were kind of like a form of entertainment for the people back then. Because think about it, you didn't have that much to do. If you were a farmer, you farmed. If you were a rancher or a shepherd, you did that. There were some other people in other positions in their society, but really there wasn't that much going on aside from interpersonal drama. So this was kind of like a show. When you really think about it, Moses and Aaron and their families, they were kind of some of the first show people. 'Cause, and then the grand
Okay, so
finale
now I've got headphones. I don't have
was
to worry about
God
echoing
making
shit.
an appearance, which
Maybe you'll hear my
God did
fan.
quite often to the people back then. All right, let's continue. He brought the people's offering and took the goat, which was the sin offering for the people, and slaughtered it and offered it for sin as the first offering. And he brought the burnt offering and offered it according to its regulation. Then he brought the grain offering, took a handful of it, and burned it on the altar, besides the burnt sacrifice of the morning. He slaughtered the ox and the ram as a sacrifice of peace for the people. And the sons of Aaron presented the blood to him, which he sprinkled on the sides of the altar, and the fat of the ox of the ram, the fatty tail, and that which covers the entrails and the kidneys, and the appendage above the liver. They put the fat pieces on the breast, and he burnt the fat on the altar. But the breast and the right thigh Aaron waved for a wave offering before the Lord, just as Moses commanded. Aaron lifted up his hand toward the people and blessed them, and came down from offering the sin offering, the burnt offering, and peace offerings. Moses and Aaron went into the tent of meeting, and when they came out, they blessed the people. And the glory of the Lord appeared to all the people. A fire came out from before the Lord, and it consumed the burnt offering and the fat that were on the altar. When all the people saw this, they shouted and fell on their faces. Yeah. So, like I said, at the end, God appears, and the people were like, "Wow! Quick, bow to the."
I'm sure they were. They were like, "Whoa, where the fuck did that guy come from?" Right? Shit. Yeah. Whoa, that's a crazy story, man. So I broke my fucking weed pipe at some point. Yeah, just split right the fucking half. I don't even know how that happened. Like I pulled it out, it had a crack in it, and and then I just like it just literally like it was whole, and then it just fell in two.
So that's why I'm looking at all my old weed pipes, and I'm like, well, these ones are all clogged up, but I seem to have unclogged them at some point. So this one is clay, and it's beautiful. It's actually from Mexico. Um, Family member brought it for me, but it gets clogged up really easily. So, and this is all just like the shit that was emptied out from the bottom of somebody's bowl and their little jar of roaches. And I got the scriblets, so that's my donation for the day.
Oh, to the Lord. And that's what they did. That is what they did. I'm thinking that after these tent of meeting occurrences, I bet the people went home and had some really tasty dinner. Because think about it, you're sitting there smelling all these burnt offerings. It would smell like barbecue. You would be hungry by the time you
Did they
leave
have
these
barbecue sauce
ceremonies
back
and
then?
whatnot. So, anyway, that's it for today.
Good.
Thank you to anyone out there who chose to listen.
You're welcome.
And I will talk to you
That's us.
tomorrow. Good night. Bye bye.
Literally the only viewer. So, we're shilling Alexandra. Ah, that's okay. So the only thing about this group I'm in is they seem, well, I don't know. It seems to be like kind of like choose your own adventure, but they seem to be kind of generally against weed. Um, so it's like some people were like talking about how they were trying to, you know, not smoke so much weed, and I get that. I'm trying to not smoke so much weed too, but same time, I'm like, well, I've got like way bigger problems to deal with than weed, but I guess we can, But it didn't come up in my thing. They kind of just ask you what you want to talk about, and I just gave kind of my backstory, so it wasn't like a big deal. But then I was like, oh, I better not bring up the fact that I smoke weed. What? Oh no. Deal for real? Deal for real? Um, no, it's So we'll get there. We'll get there. I don't want to give it away yet. It was supposed to be a surprise, but now it's going to be an even bigger surprise because we're going to do it live. We're going to do it here. I just have to get in the right headspace because I know I'm going to do this. Gotta do this. It's a thing I haven't done in a while. So the meeting was good. Um, I'm feeling good about it, even though I, whatever, relapse. It's like that whole one day at a time thing. Like I said, the goal is to get, better, and I can't expect like total perfection out of myself. And again, I think, my drinking is a problem insofar as like, doing it all the time and doing it while I'm alone. But I think I'm, relatively close to a normie as long as I get a handle on my routine. I just think that I tend to fall into doing basically anything I like to do like way too much habitually. Smoking too much weed, too many cigarettes, too many beers, you know, just like I used to do, was fucking, blowing off work because I wanted to do band practice. And yeah, it had its utility, but at the same time, I was always broke and I couldn't pay my bills because I was always blowing off work. I'm amazed I didn't get fired for more jobs. Your whole life is a relapse. So yeah, I think everybody's whole life is a relapse, man. Like you like anytime somebody's like, I've been sober for 25 years, and I'm like, I don't believe you, but I'll give it to you, but I don't believe you. Like I'll just take you at your word for it, man, but I don't believe you. um, But, depending on what you call sobriety, like not getting back to that super low point. So, yeah. So, again, I had a light beer this afternoon, and then I had lunch, and I went to work, and now I'm here, and I'm smoking weed. Oh no, where'd everybody go? I'm gonna spend a little time chillaxing, and doing this thing. And I'll just get started, like, really, because, well, probably gonna have a cigarette first. Have a cigarette first. You know what? Crack a beer. I have 2 beers. I'm just going to focus on this one and try to keep it at just one. So I'm already, feeling a little groggy. I have the day off tomorrow. I can handle my business as it comes. What, did y'all think I was going to do? Get naked or something? Like, everybody vacated the fucking premises. They were all, oh no, what's he going to do? Tell me what he does. Okay, I'm going to need stuff. And think about it, this might be pretty difficult to do with headphones on. Oops. Didn't think about that one, huh? Alright. What song is it you want to hear? Oh yeah, that's right. We're going to listen to this conversation I was listening to earlier. And I came in kind of late, so I was like, what were we talking about? What were we talking about? And then they were like, no, we're not talking about that thing. We're talking about the other thing. But then when I kept listening to the conversation, because I was like getting ready and shit, it sounded like they were talking about the thing that I thought they were talking about. But they were like, anyway, doesn't matter. I want to see what they were talking about, so we're going to go back to that. If we can find it. History. It's history. There it is. This one.
So, all right.
It's gone unlisted. I hope I'm not breaking a rule here.
So I was just distracted here. I was watching.
It's in my watch history. So.
Kidology is streaming right now. The New Left has a terrible race problem, and
okay. And like I said, I'm gonna have to go without my headphones so I can hear it, and then I'm gonna mute myself so you can't hear what I'm doing, but you'll see me. Right. Okay. Let's do this. Take these off too. Worry about that in a second.
she speak at a lot of truth to power as far as I'm concerned. The left, the New Left, does have a race problem. But instead of watching the rest of that stream, I'm going to start my own as scheduled, and I'll catch back up with hers later. And there is a rerun. Hello to anybody that's here with me. Today is it May? Which April, May? Yep, May 14th, 2023, 3:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So let's just jump right into this. When I saw Kidology's stream announced in the title of that stream. Not really sure where she was going to go with that. I will go ahead and share real quick so you guys know which channel I'm talking about. This one right here, Kidology. The New Left has a terrible race problem. 354 are watching currently, started 12 minutes ago. And I don't always agree with her, but I don't always agree with anybody. She's making a lot of valid points today, so I'll be glad to catch back up with her stream in just a little while. And I could just jump right in. I'll bet she's saying something relevant right now. I just don't want to have to find a segue. So we'll go ahead and cancel that out. So, hello, Answers in Atheism and Nerdy Rodent. Incoming, says Nerdy Rodent, right? So I'm not sure, that might be a reference to Shots Fired. So, seeing that title today got me thinking. And it got me thinking about the race issues that we've been encountering, both in political channels and in other places, chat comments on the side of streams and topics for streams, etc. We're running into it a lot these days. And partly because it's an important issue, and partly because there are bad faith actors and antagonists amongst us that do like to stir up the pot and troll people and cause problems, and they are racists. So here this last week, Stephanie Helm sent me some links to a channel. Is it Mr. Lizard or something to that effect? Newer channel. And of course to Gutsick Gibbon. That channel. Gutsick Gibbon. Not only is Gutsick Gibbon brilliant, she's adorable. Like, she is as cute as a button. I can say that, right? That's not cringe. I'm not like creeping. I'm just saying she's adorable. And I just love everything about the way that she presents the issues. You know, she did a stream recently about Robert Sepper, and about his channel and his history and how openly, blatantly Nazi Third Reich racist he is. And so that was to tie in, that ends up being relevant to people that have been in various streams lately, racist signaling, and yet at the same time denying that they are racists. Oh, I'm not a racist. I was just trolling people with racist symbolisms and other dog whistles to see if I could get a reaction, right? And I had never heard anybody reason that way till fairly recently. I've led a fairly sheltered life myself in some ways, and there's just an awful lot of happenings in the wider world that I was oblivious to. And fairly late in the game, I'm becoming aware of various symbolisms and hand gestures and turns of phrase that are meant to be a way for racists to signal to each other, to say, hey, I'm one of you. Are you one of me? Yay, we're in the special racist superior people club. Good for us, kind of thing. And I knew that there was a thing that kind of happened, but I just wasn't. And in fact, I'm still not well versed in it. I'm sure there are a long list of symbols and gestures and phrases and stuff that seem innocent enough to me I could walk past it 100 times and not think twice about it, that are part of their subcultural niche of secretly the secret handshake people, as I call them, where you got to be in the club to know about it, unless you're one of the people that have been studying it. And then you know, right? But you really got to dive into that rabbit hole to find out what's going on. So we've got Tux TV in the house. Awesome. Great to have you here, and Sopra on as well. So let me adjust my screen a little bit so I can actually see the chat without squinting. And hi all, but can't stay, says Tux TV. Ooh, well, I wish you could have, Tux, but hopefully we can catch up soon. Thank you for stopping by in any event. Answers in Atheism says, my forest turned into a monster that changed constantly. Gaping monster. It was a nice monster, though. Nerdy Rodent says, my trippy videos have influenced your tripping. Perhaps a little. I need to get me some truffles, says Nerdy Rodent. Right. So I sent some messages today through private message, which have not been seen, let alone heard and responded to. Yeah. And after I sent all those messages, I'm like, you know what? Now I wish I just said all of that in a live stream. I didn't know what I was going to say yet. That's how I roll. I don't plan things out. I don't script things. I don't lay them out in a format first to get my thoughts in order. I just start talking and it goes wherever it goes. 98% of the time, that goes exactly how I'm glad it went. The other 2% of the time, I get myself in trouble. And of course, it's that 2% of the time that people remember. So, looking back on that fateful day a couple of months ago, and I'm bad with time, so was it only 1 month ago? Was it a year ago? How if I know? I'm just going to call it 2 months. It was the first time I had encountered some guy named William Freeman. I didn't know him from Adam, hadn't heard any clarified rumors, just some mumblings amongst the gossip web or grapevine. It wasn't sure about who was saying who about what to who. I just wasn't clear on it. There were apparently 3 different Williams that people were interacting with or observing or talking about. And they were all sharing a common story, right? Because people weren't saying, this William said this thing to this person, and this other William said this other stuff to this other person this other day or whatever. It was all William. And so 3 different Williams, 3 different last names, all sharing the same reputation because people weren't making the necessary distinction between what William said what to who, when, where, how, why. So it got sorted out one day on my channel, and I was glad that I'd made the lucky guess not to let Kincaid in. I didn't know who was who. And I was a little frustrated with myself once I found out what Freeman was about. But even then, it took me a while to kind of mentally process what was happening. Was the raccoon symbol really a racist dog whistle? And if it is, did he know it? Did he mean it that way? And it took a while to sort it out. And eventually he admitted, yep. He knew it was. He used it as such on purpose, but because he thought it was funny and because he was trying to see who would react to it. And he thought that was a good justification. And of course, it's not. Racism isn't a joke. It's not a punchline. It's not funny. If you march up and down somebody's street wearing white robes and a hood and a swastika and burning torches or burning crosses, you don't get to wait till the next day and say, oh, well, I was just kidding. Because now you've already scared shitless every non-white family in the neighborhood, right? Who thinks you're coming for them, right? And you've already emboldened every actual racist in the neighborhood for miles around. Everybody that hears about it. So even if it was a joke to you and, oh, you're not really a racist, I know you were just kidding and you were going to admit it later, you've already done some damage. You've already made you've already made a place unsafe. You've already made society worse, even if you were only pretending to be a racist. You've made it more dangerous because now more people that are borderline racist are going to become more racist because they feel legitimized. And people who are already quietly racist are going to be more loudly racist because now they've been legitimized, right? You've made them feel more safe to come out of the closet and say horrible things and do horrible things. You've already made other people feel like, well, great, now the neighborhood, the world that I live in is even more dangerous. And then, of course, that actually follows through because then we see more results from that. Things that make the news, horrible things happening to innocent people. Malls getting shut up and people getting caught in the crossfires. Families, children, little children, 5 years old, getting hit by AK-15 and 47 rifles. I don't care if you want to call those assault rifles or semi-automatics. I don't care what you call them. I'm not a gun person, so I'm going to get the terminology wrong anyways, but those are damn powerful weapons. And nobody should have their face blown off in front of a mall just because some unhinged person felt more legitimized and more angry because of something that they heard, even if the source they heard it from later claims to have been kidding. Real consequence to real people's lives to be playing them stupid-ass games. No. As it happens, I listened to what the Mr. Lizard, again, I think that was the channel's name. and Gutsick Gibbon, her stream about Robert Zephyr. And then it became incredibly obvious that these people who are just pretending to be racist, but they're not really. They are absolutely racists. And this is why I chose the thumbnail that I did today. Let me go ahead and share that image again. We're going to go back over to that share screen window. There we go. Dude needs to make up his mind about being seen or not. So we've got the image here of this guy. And he's wearing camouflage, right? Camo gear, head to toe.
That is a funny image. There's a lot of fucking hair. There's a lot of hair trying to get off my head. I had to switch to the ancient methods. Okay, so I take that we're talking about Will Kincaid, not William Freeman. I'm not. I kind of lost a bit of it there, but I think he's going to reiterate a lot of these points later, and other people are going to come in the room and shit. So yeah, Will Kincaid is a fucking total fucking instigator, no matter which way you spin it. But yeah, but the whole raccoon thing, I don't know if. So James seems to be talking about a different stream than the one I am, or yeah, maybe a stream that I didn't see. So I'm not sure what took place in this other stream, but we continue just listening to the narrative here because I know these characters.
And he's got a bright green neon safety vest on. Needs to make up his mind about whether or not he wants to go unseen or he wants to be seen. Right? Freaking hilarious way to make the point. I don't even remember where I got this meme from. It was sitting in my library and I decided it fit, so I decided to use it. Come back over here real quick and cancel that out. So we've got so yeah, they're in chat, they're talking about truffles, which apparently is lingo for mushrooms. Fine. Okay. So I had a lot to say about this. And I'm tempted to play my thoughts about it. And I don't want to say it all over again. I will drop a link in case somebody does want to jump in at some point. I'm gonna go ahead and copy paste this here. I suppose I go to the front end of my page and I'll go ahead and pin it. Why I can't pin it from StreamYard, I have no idea, but I can't. So go over here, grab it, pin message. There we go, and then close it out because my computer will lag out if I run too many streams at once. It'll overwhelm the connection. So all right. So I think I'm going to go ahead and share this. I sent these thoughts to Stephanie. I won't read every single one, but I'll play at least up until a point. Stephanie doesn't even know that I've sent her messages yet about this. She sent me the links to Gutsick Gibbon in the other video several days ago. I gave only a very brief response. I didn't have time at the time to make a bigger response. I needed to think about it more too. And so finally, I set aside time today to actually share my thoughts on the issue. And I thought, I should have said that stuff in a live stream. So why don't I go ahead and come over to here and share some of my thoughts about all this stuff. Actually, that reminds me about this other. Here's another thing that got me thinking about it. There is a U.S. intelligence officials report that warns about hate groups using online memes. And I kind of think, here's the thing. This is from NBC News. I think if I play this 5-minute clip, I'll get dinged, even though I'm only sharing news. So what I probably will do instead is I'll show an image of it. And I'll put the link in the description later, and you guys can check it out. So let me come back over here to StreamYard real quick. Screen, share screen. There we go. So here's an image. U.S. intelligence officials warns of hate groups using online memes. This is from May 12th of this year. And so it talks about the games that they play and the real world consequences of those games. There's a direct connection, a direct correlation of causation between hate groups using online memes to signal to each other and real world violence that destroys lives. It is not a harmless project to use memes of different forms, various imageries, ways to use words and pictures and images and symbols. Right, is very real world, consequential thing that they do. So again, I think I would get hit for copyright if I tried to play it, so I'm not going to. But that's, you guys want to check that out later, I invite you to do so. So I led with that. So I'm going to go ahead and do. So I'm going to go back over here to StreamYard. Answers in Atheism says that is probably generally true that the people pretending tend to be actual. Yes. Answers in Atheism also says there is a, squinting here, there is a terrain to our basic operational beliefs that lies just below the visible outer layer. It is often undocumented terrain. Therein one might find the nuggets of bigotry. So, right. With that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and play some of these messages in order. And again, Stephanie hasn't even seen that I've sent these messages, let alone had a chance to listen and respond. I'm going to go ahead. Let's go ahead and go with that. There we go. So hopefully you guys can hear this. If you have a hard time hearing this, or if it's too loud, let me know. So this whole domain of social behaviors and ideas. It's quite the rabbit hole with lots of complexity, nuance, and lots of psychology and sociology. You have to really look at what's really happening there as mechanisms. It seems to me that part of the game being played there with people like Freeman or the other guy, keep forgetting the other William, Kincaid, I think that was his name, is that they do want other people who are comparably hateful, comparably prejudiced, to immediately recognize their signals to each other. Wink, wink, nod, nod, special hand gestures and symbols and whatever else. Stand up and be counted, let me know where you're at, kind of a thing. Oh, so let me know, guys. Were you guys able to hear that clearly before I play any more of them? Right. So, yo. I'm just going to assume it sounds fine because nobody told me otherwise. This is some real shit. DM. Yo, deconverted man, how are you today? Hear what, says Nerdy Rodent? I don't know. Did you guys not hear me playing my voice message? If you didn't hear it, I'll have to cancel it and start it over again. So, let me know. Could not hear it. Ooh, you couldn't hear it. All right, so I'm going to cancel that out. Try one more time. If this doesn't work, then I don't have a way to, and I'll just have to sharing, tab to audio. Share. It should play just fine. Let me try it again. So this whole domain of this time I'm going to ask before I play the whole minute. Let me know. Did you guys hear it? Did it sound okay? Nerdy Rodent says you need to do the thing with the thing so that we can hear it. Just do the thing with the thing. And a thumbs up. Yeah. Okay. Melody Joy. Hello. Great to see you here. So I'm going to assume that thumbs up and yeah, I mean that you guys can hear it just fine. So I'm going to go back to playing it. So here we go. Social behaviors and ideas. It's quite the rabbit hole with lots of complexity, nuance, and lots of psychology and sociology. You have to really look at what's really happening there as mechanisms. It seems to me that part of the game being played there with people like Freeman or the other guy, keep forgetting the other William, Kincaid, I think that was his name, is that they do want other people who are comparably hateful, comparably prejudiced, to immediately recognize their signals to each other. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Special hand gestures and symbols and whatever else. Stand up and be counted. Let me know where you're at, kind of a thing. All right, so that was the first message. Per Aspera ad Astra, great to have you here today. Whenever you don't have time to come through, or you just didn't happen to notice the stream, I always feel like it just wasn't the same without you here. It is very great to have you here, and I mean that. So to push forward, want any outsiders to recognize it, right? They don't want you to know the special handshake. They don't want you to memorize it. They don't want you using it. They don't want you using it for a different purpose, right? That's their special symbol. That's their special handshake. That's their special wink, wink, nod, nod thing going on. Because they want to feel special, and if someone's using it for a different purpose, it confuses the issues, and they can be less confident when they're signaling or being signaled to. They want to be clear about who's who in the room. They want to feel extra special about they themselves in the room, and them and their people. And they also, at the same time, in part of the effort to make sure that it's their own special language, their own special group, their clubhouse of special people, they're faced with this moment of frustration. Because here, outsiders are recognizing it for what it is. Not all, but all too often. Somebody will recognize what a certain symbol or certain hand gesture or certain phrase or whatever are implying. And it's, recognized by outsiders. Criticized by outsiders to say, hey, we just know, we caught that. We noticed the salute. We noticed the hand gesture. We noticed the symbol. We noticed the words. We know what that means. So then the outsider saying this is saying, and by the way, we recognize it as racism, therefore we recognize you as a piece of shit. Right now, these people, these William Freemans and Kincaids and other people like that, they are incredibly narcissistic and therefore incredibly fragile. They want to be as hateful as they want to be, and self-righteous and superior is key to all of it. They need to feel better than somebody, right? And so they have these narratives, for example, about Black people, and being less intelligent and less cultured and pseudo civilized and all this other stuff. Somehow just lesser beings, because they want to feel good about themselves. They want to feel better about themselves than somebody else. And so at the same time, if they've got the majority of people in their society who are outsiders and kind of surrounding them, as it were, and the majority is looking at their small special group.
Hey, what's up, Red Rum? So I'm getting a few things out of this. I don't think Kincaid and Freeman are in the same group, as far as I know. I've known both of them for a while, and they didn't come together as far as I know. And as far as the whole what avatar you use, does that apply to me? Is because I use ape and monkey, are those because those used to be used as racist fucking tropes, but is that does that make me a racist or a race baiter or something? I don't understand how this is working out. It blows my mind, man.
Group, and looking at them even individually in real time and saying, not only did I just notice this symbolism that you just did, this dog whistling, whatever, but I also recognize that it means you're actually the lowest common denominator in our society. You're the weakest link, not the strongest. So then it has the opposite effect that they're looking for. They only want feedback because they want to create this cultural subniche, this clubhouse of special people, where they just go around every day signaling to each other, not just that hey, I'm in the club, but also the club is special and that it makes me great. Now, if they get a lot of feedback from the outside to say, actually, it makes you a piece of shit. It makes you awful. Then this goes against what they're looking for. They're looking for reinforcement. They're looking for reassurance. They're looking for somebody who will prop up their artificial narrative of superiority because they want to feel good about themselves because they are secretly narcissists who secretly feel bad about them. So here they are, faced with the, for them, unfortunate reality that outsiders are going to notice. Not all, and not every time. But quite often, somebody outside their ranks is going to immediately notice a particular thing for what it is. Then they're going to get called out for the bullshit that they're sitting on. Then they're going to start feeling bad about themselves. They don't like feeling judged. They like doing the judging, but they don't like being the recipient of judgments. Right? They only want it one-sided because their egos can't handle a two-sided exchange or equitable social engagement. They can't. Right? So they want to sit on thrones of superiority, but they don't want anybody sitting on the throne over them. And so we called them out for the bullshit. We're effectively judging them on a moral foundation. We're judging them as shit, and they can't handle that. And so what they attempt to do as a next wave in their warfare is they want to shame the people who notice. They want to create this narrative where the very moment you notice that they're a racist, the very moment you notice they're racist dog whistling, that the person who notices it are themselves shitty for noticing it or shitty for caring, right? Okay, yeah, you notice my racist dog whistle, but it's not really a racist dog whistle. I'm not really a racist. I'm just pretending to be a racist so that people who aren't in my special club can embarrass themselves by noticing I'm a racist when I'm only pretending to be a racist. So they create this like secondary artificial narrative that makes it to where they've got two lines of dialogue happening, two narratives running side by side. One is the narrative they have with other racists. Wink, wink, nod, nod. We're awesome. Black people suck, right? That kind of a thing. And another narrative where they're totally not racists, and if you think they are, it's because you're being overly sensitive and overly reactive to them pretending to be racist. And the only reason they were pretending to be a racist in the moment was to see who's fragile enough to get triggered about them pretending to be racists. So that now they can flip the script, they can turn the tables. And now once again, they're the morally superior person and the more enlightened person and the more clever person in the room. Because now, according to this other narrative, the one where they're not really a racist, they're just pretending to be a racist, they can regain their ego, right? They can regain some semblance, artificial as it may be, of a moral foundation, of a rational and psychologically developed and superior foundation of identity, where the people on the outside, the people who aren't in their clubhouse, that we're all idiots. We're all emotional, knee-jerk, presumptuous, judgmental people who, instead of having a deeper conversation with them, we just say, oh, we hereby judge you for using a symbol, and we hereby assume that you mean the symbols these ways, and we hereby judge you for our assumptions we're making about you. And then so the Freemans and the Kincaids can say, look, you're judging me based on assumptions rather than getting to know me. Now, ironically, the whole time that they're arguing this point and arguing from this perspective, they really are racists, right? And they do want other people to recognize them as racists. Wink, wink.
I don't get that. I haven't heard Freeman say anything racist. I've definitely heard Kincaid say a lot of racist shit, but Kincaid pretty much says like every offensive type of thing you can think of. That's his thing. So make of that what you will, and I don't condone his behavior. But as far as Freeman, I mean, show me the racism. I mean, other than a raccoon avatar, what's the other hint you have? I have not seen that. I don't know. Maybe I missed something there.
Nod, nod, Hail Hitler, right? But they feel like because the outsiders can't prove that their racist symbols and dog whistles are really an expression of actual racism, then we've got no right to call them out for racism. That we
No, you have to define the dog whistle. What do you think something means? And then, like, like, is that thing legitimate? I still have a big old poof of hair back here I gotta get, but other than that, we're pretty good. This side needs work. A lot of work. Look at this side. White and shiny. Must be a dog whistle.
that we've got no right to judge them without inquiring and asking them. And so somehow, if we do take the time to say, okay, I recognize that you're wearing a white hood and a swastika and you're burning crosses in my front yard, but I don't want to assume that you're a racist. I'm just going to ask you. And because that's a ridiculous conversation. You and I recognize that, right? If somebody is, if somebody's in our front yard wearing a white robe and a white hood, and they got an armband on with a swastika, and they're burning a cross in our front yard, and they're hanging black people in effigy, like like scarecrows, black scarecrows or whatever, right? Like, and whatever. It's a ridiculous conversation to have. To say, excuse me, are you really a racist? Nazi supporting white supremacist fundamentalist with that particular version of Christianity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Or are you just pretending to be as a way to provoke me to see if I'll make assumptions about you?
So I don't know, James, how much you know about Freeman, but Freeman's a recent deconvert. He's no longer a Christian, so you know how that would. Yeah, no.
In order to prove that people tend to make assumptions about you, which then proves that you are the more superior person is the person who doesn't make assumptions about others. That would, of course, in real life be a ridiculous conversation to have. It'd be a ridiculous way to respond to the hooded figure burning a cross in your front yard. But in Freeman's mind and Kincaid's mind, etc., this is the more mature conversation. This is the more mature response, right? Which is, of course, ridiculous, and they know that it's ridiculous. So, hold on a second. All right, so I'm going to stop playing those for just a moment and catch back up with chat. Deconverted Man says, without saying something is bad, evil, etc., is there a more logical way to tell someone they're doing wrong and do so in such a way that encourages them to change? There's a more productive way to have the discussions than what we had there that day on my channel. Sean and Freeman locked horns and went round and round and round. And I should have put a stop to it, and I did not. I let it go on way too long. And there was a better way to have the discussion. I wasn't in the right frame of mind for it today, and the stream wasn't even supposed to be about that day. The whole stream started off with me admitting that I was in poor form and that I was doubting my own intellectual capacities and doubting whether or not I should even have a channel and doubting whether or not that I'm actually doing more good than harm. And I was already in a bad place that day. Should I have maybe not streamed at all until I sorted it out? Maybe. But anyways, that's where I was at. And so when all that stuff happened, I was completely unprepared for it. And as a result, I didn't put a stop to it and handle it the right way. Looking back, I would. Looking back, I've made all these mental notes since then. I've learned and I've grown, and man, the same situation all over again, I'd handle it all differently because that's the way life works, right? You make stupid decisions, things catch us off guard, and then we have a chance to learn from it and process it and grow from it, and we enter all these new lines of code, so to speak, these new boxes in our mental flow charts, where if this then that, boxes in a flow chart that weren't there before as part of our flow chart. And next time we'll be ready, right? That's how life works. What are you gonna do? So moving forward from there, is there a better way to have the conversations? Absolutely. Will that result in that person changing? I mean, it can. I'm convinced that most of these people are narcissistic, in a covertly narcissistic, and I think that that's heavily what's usually in play. So in order to get a narcissist to behave better, you've got to appeal to two different things. You've got to convince them that there is a way to strategically benefit themselves with a different kind of behavior. So you had to appeal to selfish benefit. And you can kind of flip the script on them a little bit to get them to see that they're actually bringing more shame upon themselves socially to behave a certain way. If they think that the way to be more celebrated and less shamed in public is to behave a different way, they will certainly consider it. So is there a different way to have a conversation for a better outcome? Possibly. But can you talk someone out of racism? I don't think so. Because they're not a racist for reasons that have anything to do with facts or logic or whatever. They try to defend racism with appeals to the quote unquote research that they've done. But the truth is that the underlying causes of the racism have nothing to do with what they heard from Robert Suffer or what they selectively Google searched or whatever else. It has everything to do with emotional, psychological drivers that they're trying to satisfy, right? So until you can get them to find a better way to satisfy those, then they're just going to stay exactly in course for where they're at. So can you have a discussion that gradually rehabilitates somebody into better behavior? Yes. Can you gradually rehabilitate them into a better personality? No. That can only come from social structures that they're plugged into, that have that form the social environment that they're in, and day to day the experiences they have in a better social structure will gradually form a better behaving person with a better way of thinking. Their underlying personality disorder, if that's in play, will still be there.
Okay. Well, my clippers are clogged up. I have to declog them. There's some schmutz or something there. Lots and lots of hair. I got most of it. I'll figure the rest of it out. Get it the old-fashioned way if I have to. Just a couple patches and then all this shit on the back of my neck and around my ears. Then I was gonna take this off. I don't know, I'm kind of liking it though. The camera here. I'm gonna keep this. See, then I'm gonna do this whole little thing right here, or just let this whole patch just, or take this and just the mustache. That's what I was gonna do, but I've run out of clipper. Anyway, it'll be done tomorrow. 12:03 a.m. California. Okay, so I don't really think, well, okay. I wonder which of us knows of William Freeman better at this point, and association with Kincaid is a pretty recent thing to my knowledge, so, but hey, you know, I'm just one guy, I'm only here so often, but, I don't know. I've never had any conflicts of that nature in my conversations with William. I've never gotten that impression from him, so I never really took the raccoon avatar to mean anything. This conversation just spark the conversation. But I'm thinking of this conversation he had with Stephanie Helms. And a pocket locker. I guess I'm supposed to mention that guy. Pocket locker.
And it will still be a problem for anybody that gets too close to them. But even with the personality disorder in place, they can find reasons to behave better. And this very much reminds me of the scientist that discovered accidentally that he was a psychopath because he had entered his brain scans in as part of the control group for a study they were doing on the brain formations of psychopaths. And he discovered accidentally, and this is a real story, by the way, that he was a psychopath. Because as he looked at the scan, and the scans at this point in the pile, they were unnamed. Double-blind study or whatever. He had no way to know whose scan it was. Didn't even occur to him that it could be his scan. And once he realized it was, he just couldn't wrap his head around it. And eventually he had to admit to himself that, yeah, he's like, I'm a psychopath. What are you going to do? He's like, no wonder I behaved certain ways in the past. No wonder I felt certain ways and reasoned certain ways and plotted and schemed certain ways. No wonder, right? He's like, damn. So he was at this moment where he'd been accidentally exposed, not just to himself, but to his peers as a psychopath. So at this moment, he had a choice to make. And he gave it a lot of thought. And what he realized is that either he chooses to start behaving as a normal person, as somebody who's not a psychopath, or he can continue. He can go back to trying to be covert about it, even though some people have already had his cover blown. He may have to switch places of work or something in order to start fresh with somebody else, but he can go back to being a psychopath, but the consequences are going to be very, very high. Now, this is a man who is very well educated, who is, practiced at trying to think objectively because he's a scientist. And so he was able to draw from that skill set in order to have a more rational discussion with himself, even privately. And what he realized is that if he decides to start behaving as if he's not a psychopath, then he can keep his marriage, he can keep his career, he can keep his friends, he can keep his reputation, he can avoid going to prison someday, etc., etc. Or he can indulge his psychopathy now that he knows that's what's happening, and he'll end up losing everything. That's how that works. And so in the same way, if you can get a narcissist or psychopath or sociopath or whoever to understand the real world consequences of their behaviors, and maybe they've been getting away with certain behaviors for years, but they can't get away with it forever. And at some point, they're going to have to make a decision. And so can you take somebody who's deeply racist, which is the result of a certain kind of psychology, certain itches that need to be scratched that are not healthy and normal? Can you get them to recognize it, and can you get them to choose to behave differently? Yes. But not automatically, and it's not a guarantee. There just are better conversations and ways to have conversations that can lead to them recognizing certain truths about themselves and recognizing the consequences of their behaviors and their attitudes so that they begin to behave better, right? They make a choice. Now, that doesn't guarantee they'll make that choice, but there are.
James sounds like some kind of psychologist or something, man.
Conversations that can empower them with a greater chance of making those kinds of decisions. It depends on the person. So I hope that's an answer. Deconverted Man says, because I do not think that insults change minds. I agree. I'm trying to find a way to change minds within logic if possible. If not, then what emotional speech could work? Right, just what I said. And we could do that. We could do a stream where we give samples of conversations, and here's A, B, and C, and D choices how to respond, and here's going to be like the results of each choice that we could make. So yeah, I mean, these are fair questions. Dirty Rodent says, is it sometimes more logical to use emotional arguments? Sometimes it is, right? It depends on the effect, and it depends on the psychology of the person we're dealing with. And sometimes emotional arguments really are the only arguments that could work. And sometimes objectively logical, rational arguments are the best. But even those, even when that psychopath in my example story was being objectively rational about the cause and effects of behaviors, his emotions are still relevant to it, because when somebody thinks about how they don't want to lose the benefits of their marriage or the benefits of a good reputation amongst professional peers, or the benefits of being able to continue their career, or the benefits of not being in prison, ultimately we're still appealing to emotion, because it all comes down to people don't enjoy suffering, but they do enjoy pleasure and various benefits, right? So ultimately, you can't really make a set of relevant arguments about why somebody should think differently or adopt different behaviors without their emotions being relevant to the equation. Jay Converted Man, how are you today?
Oh, all right. How's it going?
Doing pretty
Yeah, I was enjoying the talk, so I thought I need to join in. But I think I was lagging behind on the live talk, so now I don't know what I just missed by switching over to this. But I was thinking about, because we were talking in chat as you were talking
Sure.
with the.
And I was way behind in the chat. That's my fault.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, that always happens, right?
I am.
And I didn't know you were talking about something that you'd done before or whatever. I don't know what bleep's going on, But yeah, what I was thinking about was that, the group pressure to change. Like, we know that people going into an elevator where everyone's facing the wall, like almost everybody will face the wall. Like, it's very rare that somebody won't. Like, either they have to be aware that that's an experiment and not comply because they know, or a few people will resist. But so the issue of, say, well, I think we could compare in some ways religion, because that's the thing I know. Like, I've done the most coverage on that, versus racism, which I've barely touched ever.
I agree. The deal for real. That's kind of what. Well, sociopaths, I think, are more in tune with rationality, because they try to justify their behavior even when it's like really heinous. Psychopaths are really like the ones that usually they can't rationalize, which was the weird thing about James's story. They just do things like purely on impulse. They cannot control it. Yeah, I don't know. I might have that one backwards again, but
is like, you have a group that is your inner circle and that you're always around, and you've never been exposed to the outside world. And now with the internet, we're having people that have racist views or whatever find each other online and form their own communities and their own circles and their own inner sanctums, where
one thing you have to realize, D-Man, in response to that, because I've known these people, they've been doing that for a long time anyway. They just, now the internet makes it a kind of a broader community. I think that type of something. Anyway, yeah, they have more access for sure. Like, they have like a racist Facebook for neo-Nazis and shit. It's like, okay, cool, but I mean, to what extent are they actually organizing, or are they just out on the internet just talking shit?
that's the group that they're safe in, and every now and then
Right.
they'll go play outside and be like, hey, screw whatever, because we're awesome and you suck, and maybe here's a study that we've misinterpreted to support our claims, or here's a study that we haven't misinterpreted that we think it supports our claims but really doesn't, or whatever, and they're safe within their bubble because they have all these people who agree with them. So it's like however many people say you suck or whatever to them, they don't care, and then let's just go back, whatever, I don't, I have my own community. I don't have this social pressure to conform, because both in real life and online, or maybe just one or the other, that they don't have to step outside of that social group to experience the other social side.
Well, the thing is, they do have that social pressure, and I guess I can put these back on. Hey, Halsey, good to see you. Howdy. So I can stop muting and unmuting again. The social pressure is applied in places where there is like legislation in place, like here in California, like racists feel like they're like screaming, help, help, I'm being oppressed, because they can't go out and just do whatever the fuck they want all the time. And so that's the thing, we do have that taking place in progressive areas. It's just fucking all the other places where they're just able to go about their business freely without any fear of anything. Oops. Uh-oh. Shit. Where was I? Damn it, Jim. I fucked up. It was back here.
Like later on that evening or the next day, and say, haha, we were kidding.
Right.
Controversial.
Right, yeah, and it might be to make some sort of point, or
but these are white people
whatever.
doing it.
Yeah, right. Up, and then they're all dancing on this person's lawn, and then they take off their
response of, oh hey, there's a racist on my front lawn. What that implied, but then he admitted that it was a racist symbol, and that's how he was showing. This imagery is still being used, but it's a racist dog whistle.
Did I go too far?
I don't know. Well,
I don't
know. So back in I don't know the 40s and 50s, maybe 60s. I have no idea.
I feel like maybe I went too far.
I did not know before that day that the raccoon was a racist dog whistle symbol. I had no idea.
Raccoon?
We're still back here.
Actually are racists, but they don't want to be called out for being.
Expect that if we were to hear his sermons, we would not hear this polite,
kind of gray, muddy.
Yeah, they don't have to step outside of that social group to experience the other social side. There's nothing to compel me to go and spend time and energy in Hindu chats to expose myself to the Hindus and their way of thinking. So I don't know what that culture is like. I don't know what that religion is like, right?
Sure.
I'm a skeptic. I'm not going to waste my time, right? And somebody could object to me being a skeptic, and people have said, hey, you haven't read the Bible, so you don't know if it's the right religion. I'm like, have you read like all the holy books? Like, no, of course not, because that's not how we work. So in a similar way, I wonder that people are kind of doing this where it's like, well, of course, all people that are whatever are bad or less than me. Or I listened to this one guy who is, he happened to be black, that interviewed this leader of KKK church or whatever that they have. And the guy said, "Well, I just don't want to be around black people. I like being around my own color people, my own people, and I don't see that as racist." And I'm like, "Well, if you're not saying," I'm like, "Well, if you're not saying that the black person is bad, that's what I would think racism is. You're saying I only want to be around X people. I don't know what I guess that
Right.
is kind. Yeah, it's like I guess
So
that
there
is
is
racist. Yeah, but
like every issue that matters, somewhere on the spectrum is this fairly narrow band of kind of gray, muddy, if
yeah,
kind of like is this racism? Is it not? Is this sexism? Is it not? Is this whatever, or is it not? Somewhere in there is a fairly narrow band of muddy ifs.
I,
Um, but
yeah,
so moving forward from there, if somebody just feels more comfortable, like women, for example, there are
yeah,
plenty of times where women and men, respectively, however you might define that, not going down that rabbit hole, I'm just saying, however you might define that, right?
right,
Where respectively, they might feel like they would like to have a space where they
yeah,
only hang out with other women if they're
right,
a woman, and where
yeah,
they only hang out with other men if they're a man. The
right.
man's space, or the
We've
Men's
girl,
groups
always
and the
the
women's
girls,
group.
the
Yeah,
girls' night out.
we have always done that. Yeah, I mean that's been a thing, but it was the point where when you're excluding people, you're saying, "Oh, only these people can come in." But that's like if you have places that are designated for that, that's a different thing, right? You're like, okay, this place is for this. So we've already sorted that one out in society, as far as I can tell.
Out, right?
the Girl
And
Scouts, the Boy Scouts, right? Yeah, but
so, or even the girls' night out, where y'all go and get your hairs done and your nails did and everything else. You talk about men and you giggle and whatever it is that women talk about that I'm not allowed to know
I
about.
totally
Well,
am sure that they all pillow fight with each other and tickle each other in their underwear.
oh, we can only hope.
That's what I pretend.
that's
Well, yep. Yep, yep, yep. So yeah, I don't know. Like we went off the rails somewhere. I lost the train of the stream. But yeah, I still haven't seen Fremen's racism. What was I gonna look at? I had something I wanted to. Oh yeah, that's right. Okay. It's shit. What am I doing? No, not that. Fuck.
Hold it. The next man makes a move, the nigger gets it.
Hold it, man. He's not bluffing. Listen to him, man. He's just crazy enough to do it.
Drop it, or I swear I'll blow this nigger's head all over this town. Oh, Lordy Lord, he's desperate. Do what he say. Do what he say.
Isn't anybody going to help that poor man?
Hush, Harriet. That's a sure way to get him killed.
Oh, help me, help me, help me. Somebody help me, help me, help me, help me. Shut up. Oh, babe.
You are so good, and they are so dumb. 12:24. Okay. I muse only myself. Okay. Okay. Taking far too long. So, yeah. It's my fucking day. Story of my fucking life over here. Let's see how much I got paid. He texted me? Fuck. Okay. Shit's going down. Shit, how long ago was that? I'll text him back in the morning. Should I text him back in the morning or should I? Now I don't know. Damn it. Okay, what? Oh, yeah, I was doing something. Oh, come on. Not showing up yet. That was kind of weird. But anyway, yeah, whatever. Totally overthought that one. Alright, well, pretty baked. Yeah. A little tired. Still a little giddy. Dude, that coffee was fucking jacked, man. It's fucking crazy, man. Moonbanger. Yep. That's pretty good.
Clear to origami. I just got so hydrated and then bam! Is that my birth certificate? Let's ask. Yep. Get seriously hydrated. Take action.
Been loading this whole fucking time. I am. Okay, wait a minute. Almost a minute and a half. That's kind of nice. Your skirt.
specifically mentioned that I got the job because of the certificate. And I got a $20,000 raise. It's nice to be financially stable. It's a whole different world.
Get flexible online training for in-demand jobs and achieve what matters to you. It starts with a Google Career Certificate.
It was a quiet dark night in an empty street, somewhere Edna does it day. Jenny walked alone, she was dragging her feet, she was heading back home to sleep. Well, she knew this town, she knew this floor, because she walked it about 1,000 times before she wanted to escape. Can you blame? Well, on the very same night, in a different place, there was this hooded long youth by the name of James. He was 40 years old, and out of his brain he'd been smoking ganja with James, he grew up to be a kid in the street. His face called him Screech, he was quick on his feet. He was a liar, a thief, at 14 years old, the devil had set his sights on his soul. As Jenny walked home all alone, she felt scared. She knew she was alright, but it was like there was something in the air. A divine intervention telling her to beware. Maybe intuition bugging her and making her so scared. Sirens sounded in the distance at the beat of Jenny's feet. A symphony of the night that echoes crime on London streets. Jenny turns the corner, their eyes they meet. Our poor girl Jenny, a boy named Screech. Give me all your money, bitch, give it to me. If you cooperate, then you'll soon be free. I want your purse, your phone, don't fucking look at me. I mean it, bitch, are you listening to me? Jenny frees a statue like a lady shakes stalactite. Fear like liquid nitrogen in the dark night. She tried to find strength to move, but stayed as still as a statue in high-heeled shoes. What the hell you playing at? You playing games with me? I swear to fucking God, I'll slice the rosy off your cheeks. You think I don't mean it, though? You don't know me. The last thing you say will be a boycott. Screech reach with the sheath of the blade, with the teeth that could bite through steel and slice concrete. And he swung possessed with the devil in his chest, and the statue she was turned to butter in no back. It was a quiet dark night in an empty street, somewhere at London City. Jenny lay still on cold concrete, she's found somewhere to sleep. Well, she knew this town, she knew this floor, cause she'd walked it about 1,000 times before. I guess that she escaped. It's so dark. 7 days.
Cool.
It's probably because I just won my 4th championship.
Well, I'm getting an online offer on my car, too.
Problems are easier to solve when you can see them. Lucid, the visual collaboration suite. Brainstorm visually on an infinite canvas. Identify your team's best ideas. Share, comment, collaborate. Discover opportunities, spot problems, draw conclusions, make decisions, and win over stakeholders to get your work across the finish line. Try Lucid today.
I'm playing like 3-minute blitz games on my phone. I don't know if it'll work very well here. Trash box anymore. We're going almost 2 hours. That's cool. Stop it. Why aren't you listening to me? I do what I want. Catch me outside.
We are still agreeing on the concepts.
Historically, consciousness has been studied by comparison to unconscious states like dreamless sleep, but some researchers are interested in another perspective.
We try to understand how do we change the quality of conscious experience in a radically different way.
One way to alter consciousness is through the use of psychedelic drugs. These are compounds that can change a person's experience of consciousness.
Vast vistas, infinite expanses of detail and intensity.
And studying the effects these chemicals have on the brain might be key, not just to unlocking our understanding of how consciousness works, but also to treating some of the problems that can affect our waking lives.
What's intriguing is that it appears that there's a wide plethora of possibilities of applications. And that's why we think that psychedelics may be acting at some form of core mechanism. We think of consciousness simply as experience, right? So that remains when we are not in dreamless sleep or under anesthesia. We think that consciousness, in terms of human experience, needs to contemplate also the alteration of consciousness while we are still experiencing something.
Chris Timmerman's research uses psychedelic substances to disrupt some of the key aspects of the human mind, like throwing a stone into a still pond to see what happens.
Perception makes up our day-to-day experience of reality. In the psychedelic state, the features of perception, are features of what constitute the external world, are modified. So, for example, with this experiments that we do with DMT, we see that people have a perception of entering, if you will, alternate dimensions that feel very real. All right, so subjectively felt to people as very strong. Modern neuroscientific theories posit that somehow we live in some form of constrained hallucination. We make up reality. So, intriguingly enough, in the psychedelic state, we may be able to access some of the brain mechanisms that allow us to construct realities, even our ordinary reality.
To perturb people's perceptions, as well as other elements of consciousness in the brain, Chris needed a suitable drug. His current focus is DMT, or N,N-dimethyltryptamine, a naturally occurring compound found in small amounts in many plants. DMT is one of the active ingredients in ayahuasca, the brew that has been prepared by indigenous peoples in the Amazon basin for social and religious uses for over 1,000 years. When it comes to research, DMT has several advantages over other psychedelics.
With DMT, we have a very reliable way to induce a transformation of experience in which external reality is radically transformed. What feels like a real, new sense of reality comes up, emerges, that feels very immersive. And the duration, so this entry into this state lasts only 10 minutes. So here we have an opportunity to have someone in the scanner, for example, administer DMT and capture their brain activity throughout the whole process.
The next challenge was finding participants willing to undergo this intense experience under observation.
I've been a long-term meditator for 30 years. And so I'm very interested in the nature of consciousness and the nature of self. And I started to hear about some of the research that was being done in psychedelics. And there was this whole renaissance in the last 10, 15 years. I was sort of drawn to try it. And even though I'm over 50, I thought, well, this is actually a good time to try it.
Shamil was so interested in the new research into psychedelic medicine that he helped set up the Centre for Psychedelic Research at Imperial College London, which is how he learned about Chris's work.
As I became involved in the centre, I knew that Chris was working on this DMT study, and I thought it was very interesting.
Having been judged a suitable trial candidate, Shamil was eventually prepared to receive a dose of DMT while having his brain scanned.
And I was definitely nervous by that stage.
We're scanning the person before the drug is injected. We scan them during the injection. We scan them throughout the whole experience, and also when they're back. Participants describe a range of different phenomena.
I get this incredible energy, vibrations going throughout the body, and in the visual field, I feel the entire visual field pixelate into fractals, into geometrical patterns. The body kind of dissolves in this enormous rush of energy. You go up into realms, very difficult to describe. Super high definition, moving patterns and geometry.
After that, we perform interviews, questionnaires. We capture psychological data, or what we call phenomenological data that pertains to the study of human experience, so that then we can interpret whatever change or modification we see in brain activity in light of experience. The intriguing thing is that this experience many times for the individuals feel very authentic, very real. It's almost as if an experience that they never thought their mind would be able to conjure up.
But what do these experiences tell us about how the brain actually processes consciousness?
We know that different brain oscillations govern brain functioning. Right? And different brain waves are related to different states of consciousness.
The electrical activity of our brains can be measured to reveal neural oscillations, the different patterns that emerge as networks of synapses communicate with each other. These brain waves change depending on what our brain is doing. For instance, low-frequency delta waves come to the fore when we sleep, while gamma waves become more pronounced when we're concentrating. Alpha waves normally emerge when we have our eyes closed and dampen down when we open them. But DMT changes this.
The DMT comes in and this alpha wave goes down, but the eyes are still closed. But nonetheless, they're having a very vivid experience at the sensory level. And then the other one is that we see that the lower frequencies, lower oscillations when it comes to brainwave activity, such as delta waves, which are also very pronounced in states of sleeping, we see that also they become elevated. And when you think a bit about what is really occurring in dreams and in sleeping, is very similar. We are detached from this external world, but nonetheless, we start playing these movies in our brains, in our minds, making up convincing reality, convincing experiences, very much as what happens in dreams.
And to further understand the effects of DMT, Chris is using fMRI, a technique better at pinpointing what is happening in specific locations and specific networks within the brain.
I think we can understand these findings in light of the notion that consciousness is this form of constrained hallucination, and that this form of constrained hallucination is governed by the hierarchy of these brain systems, how they are arranged, and more importantly, also what is happening at the top of this hierarchy, the systems that govern all the rest of the connectivity patterns all the way down when it comes to human experience, all the way down even into our more basic perceptual levels, right? So the idea is that models govern our perception of what is real and what is not real. Apparently with psychedelics, when you disrupt these models at this very high level, everything down also can be altered in a very significant way. The brain is able now to explore new models, new stories, new possibilities that can have the level of immersion and reality that our everyday lives also have.
Understanding how these drugs act on the brain and the effects they cause to the systems that underpin our consciousness opens the door to some exciting practical applications.
When you think about depression or anxiety, one of the stable features is the symptom of rumination, and in which bad stories are replayed, and we cannot really break away from them, right? There's kind of like a looping aspect to them. If psychedelics effectively enable the system to more flexibly adapt into different models that may be more healthy, then we could expect that these substances have strong uses when it comes to depression and anxiety, for example, things that have rumination, or other conditions in which the idea of maladaptive models are present.
DMT shows incredible potential, both as a clinical treatment and a tool for research. And next, Chris wants to better harness the drug, customizing and extending its effects to reap even greater rewards.
When we think about personalized medicine and we think that every individual have their own needs, for example, we can now think of tailoring that experience to that individual for a specific mental health purpose. And from the point of view of consciousness research, it provides us also a flexible way to explore the ways in which we induce the alterations of experience and therefore try to address some of these fundamental questions that concern human experience.
Very informal, very informal. So, you never know where the restroom is. Feel free to get up and go get food. A little disclaimer before I get started. First of all, I am not a scientist. We're going to be talking a little bit about science tonight, but I'm not a scientist. So I'm going to do something that's in kind of like I do a lot. I'm going to talk philosophically about science, if you can do that. So we're going to talk about some of the theories about addiction as a disease. It's not a new idea. The Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, which I'm a big fan of, by the way, was published in 1939. And in that book, they had the audacity to say that addiction was a disease. They had one doctor that kind of paired up with him there, a medical doctor, that said, I believe so too. And he was pretty much ostracized by the medical community for saying it was a disease. He stuck to his guns. I'd like to say that today, Dr. Silkworth has been vindicated because modern science now has proven it's a disease. And so what kind of a disease is it? And one thing about a disease, I'm not going to go through all the criteria that the American Medical Association says a disorder has to meet in order to be called a disease. We're going to talk about one of them that has been really hard to prove. Some of the others are relatively easy to say this fits the criteria to be called a disease. But one of the criteria is a measurable deviation from normal of an organ in the body. And of course, they're talking about the brain. Well, an autopsy can show brain damage, and you can say this is probably because of substance abuse and things like that. But that doesn't prove it's a brain disease. That's a result of abuse. And so it's really only been in the last 10 years with the advent of the MRI and the PET scan and that kind of technology that scientists are now are able to say that we can prove that there is a measurable deviation from normal in the brain of the brain of an addict, and they can scientifically show you here's what's happening and this is not normal. So we're going to talk about some of that. I'm going to talk mostly from a very practical point of view because I'm not a scientist. I'm not here to defend scientific theories. I'm going to talk about some of the theories that I believe have been groundbreaking theories. I'm going to talk a little bit about, I'm going to go back to the 1950s and talk a little bit about Dr. Olds and Milner. Dr. Olds was a research scientist and Milner was his graduate assistant. They were working with rats. I think it had something to do with pain, and they had taken the skull caps off of the rats, and they were just kind of poking around with little electrodes that emitted a tiny charge. And actually, they put them in two different places, and one of them came loose and accidentally touched another area of the rat's brain, and they noticed that this rat seemed to get a lot of pleasure out of that. And so this was in the 50s, and that was a major breakthrough, and that was later, they call that the pleasure circuit. We're going to talk a little bit about that.
The legacy media continues to suffer serious consequences for not caring about the truth, and that's really what's going on. Right? You look at them, and they're saying you can't believe your own eyes. You have to listen to us. You have to believe what we tell you, and so that is not working out for them. Vice News, appropriately named, is close to bankruptcy, almost certainly going there. BuzzFeed is in trouble. WAPO is laying off 7,000 people, I believe. I believe it was 7,000. Both Fox and CNN are bleeding viewers. Tucker Carlson posts a video from his basement and gets 80 million views. Fox gets 1.8 million. Wow. And in a slot that they got 3 million in yesterday, the day before, a couple days before. So there is no question. People are tired of being told that you can't believe your own senses. Yeah. You have to trust us. It doesn't matter whether or not you can observe a mask working. It doesn't matter whether or not you believe that the world is going to end in 12 years because of global warming. Have you noticed it's always 12 years? It was 12 years 12 years ago, and now it's still 12 years. It's kind of like the pagans' second return. 89 reasons why it'll be 89.
It's Harold Camping all over again.
Yeah.
But I think the news thing is such a crazy thing, because I was a Fox News, follower all the time.
Oh, sure.
Especially, Trump versus Hillary, this last election. That's all we had to listen to. And now, like you've kind of saw after the 2020 election, they really went one way, and I was starting to think, well, that doesn't seem honest. And then you go to COVID and all of these things that if you believe that a mask didn't work, or if you thought that the vaccine wasn't a good thing, you were a conspiracy theorist, all this stuff, it was a man-made out of a lab virus. But if you thought that, you were crazy. And here we are 3 years later where they're starting to say, oh yeah, you know what, that was right. And then nothing happens to them. Right. They put this hysteria out there into the world. Everyone's crazy. No one will even go near anyone. And there's no repercussions for them. They can say what they want, do what they want, even if they're 5% accurate.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. No accountability.
What kind of news is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, very boldly, almost like there's this assurance that they don't remember.
Yeah.
Just not even anticipating anyone to hold them accountable.
They're Americans. Americans are dumb. They'll get over the next thing,
Yeah.
It's constantly the process how things work.
Well, I think something you said, Dennis, I mean, the media's been probably the cause of this, but just our culture is our attention spans are so short. right? And so it's like the media comes on, drops this mass hysteria thing, everyone freaks out, and you're right. And then it's like 5 minutes later, well, let's move on to the next mass hysteria thing, and we forgot about, because we're not able to like step back and look at things objectively and see patterns in history and, look at the big picture and recognize what's happening. We just get caught up in the moment. And so that's why they've been able to prey on people for so long. But I think you're right. I think people just had enough. I think this last 3 years have shown that, and the election messes and going back to all these media places folding, like Zach was saying, my thoughts on that is because I didn't wear the shirt, but woke is broke, right? People have had enough, I think, of the woke stuff, and it's not selling. And people, these big massive companies that have been just going full in on the woke stuff, they're bleeding. It's not just the media, it's like Disney, like other places like that. They're losing money left and right, and it's not selling, and they're realizing that. And it's okay, that was fun for 3 years while it lasted. But it's like Vice, for example. I used to really like some of Vice's stuff. They had some really, really good stuff. Obviously they had some really awful stuff too, but they had some really great stuff. We used to always do BuzzFeed every episode. Remember, and I remember because a while they had those fun little games and quizzes and stuff, and then all of a sudden, overnight, it switched to completely woke. And I remember being I can't even read BuzzFeed anymore. This is just obscene. So
then it just became something to make fun of.
Yeah.
But I think people just there's a lot of information to know out there, and so people want to have a resource that they trust.
Yep.
And I think more people are, at least I hope more people are sort of realizing that your worldview really shapes what information you find important, or even just in terms of how you would read a situation or what's happening and what the implications of that are. You need someone that shares thoughts like you,
sure,
that can help you sort of wade through all this collective information that's out there. People just want something that they trust, that they go, I know that this person reported it, and I trust that person, so I believe what they say.
Well, yeah, like you said, the attention span, right? Everyone, you can get a news feed on your cell phone. It comes up, and right away, most people right now in the world, or even in this country alone, see it as, oh, that's fact, this is definite, without I go back to Jeff's sermon last Sunday. It's where's your evidence? Let's break down the truth before you start jumping onto this and attacking the one side. Let's lay out the evidence and let's see, equal weights and measures. Let's measure this out to make sure that this is honest reporting. And I think you'll go back the last 3 years, there's been a lot of dishonesty within the media.
Yeah.
Hold on for a second. So I think you're mistaken here, sir. What happened? Oh. Copyright infringement. Bronco, Ford Bronco, play the ad.
So I can use all those miles to go to Austin, New York, Las Vegas, and Belize?
Yeah. Copyright infringement stream. Delay in the broadcast. Goodbye.